My fiancé faked the flu to cheat, so I turned his Google Maps timeline into a real-life scavenger hunt from hell. I was adjusting the brightness on my ring light, making sure the harsh, white glare didn't wash out the 65-inch flat screen mounted to the wall behind me, while my fiancé slept off his illness in the master bedroom. He was about to wake up to a beautifully wrapped anniversary present, a live-streamed eviction, and a digital footprint so thoroughly hijacked he'd need a satellite map just to find his own shoes. I lived, at 824, Kensington Court, a 3-bedroom modern fortress of home automation that I built from the ground up. I am a digital strategist by trade, meaning my entire professional life revolves around tracking consumer data, optimizing hidden algorithms, and finding the exact things people desperately want to keep buried. My house reflected that exact mindset. I managed the smart lighting grids, the synchronized grocery lists, the automated thermostat zones, and our heavily encrypted shared cloud storage. Julian, my fiancé of 3 years, liked to joke that I was the digital brain of the house and he was the analog muscle. He was a commercial real estate broker who wore slate-gray bespoke suits, possessed a smile that could disarm a bank robber, and thought resetting the Wi-Fi router meant violently unplugging the microwave. He relied on me for absolutely everything digital. Last Friday, the cracks in our perfectly optimized, seamless life began to fracture. Julian came home from his firm at 4 in the afternoon, dragging his leather-soled shoes across the entryway runner, aggressively clutching his stomach. He dramatically threw his leather briefcase onto the kitchen island and leaned his forehead against the cool white marble. He claimed he was coming down with a brutal, unforgiving flu. Not just a mild cold, but a body-shattering, chills-inducing, keep away from me influenza. He bundled his towering frame into our master bed, barricading his body behind a fortress of expensive down pillows, clutching a digital thermometer in one hand and a giant, sweating bottle of blue Gatorade in the other. "You have to go to Sarah's gallery opening without me," he whispered, his voice trembling with an almost Oscar-worthy rasp that made my chest tighten with sympathy. He coughed twice into the crook of his elbow, a dry, hollow, pitiful sound. "I don't want to ruin your night, babe. Just go. Drink some champagne for me. Send me pictures of the art." I sat on the very edge of the mattress, feeling a heavy wave of genuine guilt wash over my conscience. I leaned forward and brushed a stray piece of dark, sweat-dampened hair off his forehead. His skin didn't feel particularly warm to the touch, but I chalked the discrepancy up to the heavy dose of ibuprofen he swore he had just swallowed dry. I kissed his cheek, used the app on my phone to dim the overhead smart lights to a soothing amber, and tiptoed out of the house in my emerald velvet slip dress, leaving him to rest in peace. I spent the entirety of Friday night wandering aimlessly around my best friend Sarah's downtown art gallery, surrounded by massive, abstract canvases throwing aggressive splashes of crimson and black across the stark white walls. I was politely sipping overly dry Chardonnay, nodding at pretentious curators, but my mind was completely tethered to my phone. I texted Julian 3 separate times. "How are you feeling? Do you need me to bring home that spicy pho you like? Should I leave early?" He responded only once, at exactly 7:15 p.m. His message read, "Just woke up to pee. Going back to sleep. Love you. Have fun." I smiled at the screen, feeling the warm, comforting heat of affection expanding in my chest. He was so incredibly sweet, suffering in silence just so I could have my night out. On a quiet Sunday morning, while Julian slept off his recovery, I sat with coffee and my laptop, determined to book our 3-year anniversary at the exclusive Il Corvo. With a hefty deposit required, I had my sights set on table 12, a coveted corner spot with a stunning city view. I checked Google Maps for recent reviews to confirm table 12 was worth the high deposit. A new 5-star review by Vanessa V praised the truffle pappardelle, romantic ambience, and specifically table 12. Feeling reassured, I opened her photo, dark, moody, and elegant, with pasta and wine lit by candlelight. But the focus revealed more, a man's forearm reaching for a glass in the background. I froze, breath gone, panic rising, as I zoomed in closer. It wasn't just a similar arm, it was his arm, winding aggressively down from the elbow joint, tapering perfectly at the wrist, was a very distinct, heavily shaded, custom geometric circuit board tattoo. I knew every single millimeter of that black ink because I was the one who helped him sketch the initial design on my iPad 2 years ago. The tattoo commemorated his first massive commercial real estate sale, a tech park. I had sat at this exact kitchen counter until 3 in the morning, my eyes burning from the blue light of the screen, painstakingly tracing the geometric lines, shading the digital nodes so they'd wrap flawlessly around the musculature of his arm. Right below the final note of the tattoo, strapped tightly to the wrist, was a brushed silver, heavy-duty heavy diving watch. But what cemented the heavy, sinking concrete block deep in my stomach was the glass face of the watch itself. There was a jagged, unmistakable white scratch slicing diagonally across the 4 o'clock marker. Julian got that exact scratch on a hiking trip we took to Zion National Park in July. I vividly remembered the red dirt, the horrible screech of the metal scraping against the canyon wall when he slipped, the sheer panic in his eyes, and me rushing over with an alcohol wipe from my first aid kit. My hot coffee instantly tasted like bitter ash in my mouth. He wasn't asleep in our bed on Friday night. He wasn't shivering and drinking Gatorade. He was sitting at table 12, eating truffle pappardelle, drinking vintage Barolo, and holding court with a woman named Vanessa V. That's when the real bombshell dropped. I didn't storm down the hallway and kick the bedroom door open. I didn't scream until my vocal cords bled. I didn't throw my heavy ceramic coffee mug against the pristine white subway tile, even though my fingers were gripping the handle so tightly my knuckles were completely drained of blood. The digital strategist inside my brain took the wheel, turning my emotional center cold, calculating, and entirely clinical. I opened a new, incognito browser tab and navigated directly to our shared Marriott Bonvoy Travel and Perks account portal. If they were drinking heavily in the downtown theater district, he either paid for an expensive Uber back to her place, or they stayed nearby. I typed in the master password. The two-factor authentication system instantly pinged my own phone. I bypassed it with a single tap, scrolling past the promotional offer straight down to the recent activity ledger. A massive, devastating deduction glared back at me in bold red typography. He hadn't just gone out for a fancy Italian dinner. He had drained 50,000 of our pooled anniversary points to book an executive suite at the luxury boutique hotel physically attached to Il Corvo for Friday night. We had saved those specific points for 3 grueling years. Every mundane grocery run, every gas station fill up, every single electric bill had been funneled through that credit card to build our dream anniversary fund. He burned a year's worth of our shared loyalty on a single night of deceit. I violently clicked on the expanded folio. Guest, Julian. Check-in time, 7 p.m. Friday night, 7 o'clock. Exactly 30 minutes after I walked out of our front door in my green velvet dress, leaving him fake coughing and shivering under our duvet. 10 minutes before he had the absolute audacity to text me saying he was going back to sleep. I closed the tab, my jaw locked so tight my back teeth genuinely ached. My fingers flew across the keyboard with a terrifying speed. I searched the handle Vanessa V across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. It took me exactly 3 minutes to locate her primary accounts. Vanessa was a local micro-influencer with a heavily curated aesthetic and about 40,000 active followers, specializing in luxury dating, soft girl lifestyle, and high-end restaurant reviews. I clicked on her most recent TikTok upload, timestamped Saturday morning. The neon pink text overlay on the video read, GRWM for a luxury staycation with my mystery man. The video started with her standing in a lavish marble bathroom, wearing a plush, oversized white hotel robe, the exact monogrammed robes from the hotel attached to Il Corvo. She was meticulously applying a glossy, cherry red lip tint, staring directly into the camera lens with big, wide, doe-like eyes. "You guys," she squealed, fluffing her perfectly curled blonde extensions with her fingertips. "I am so incredibly happy today. My new mystery man just surprised me with the most insane executive suite for the weekend. We've been seeing each other for 6 months now, and things are getting so serious. He's finally leaving his toxic, psycho roommate to move in with me. I'm just so proud of him for setting boundaries and getting out of a bad living situation." 6 months. He had been playing the toxic roommate card for half a year to explain away why Vanessa could never come over to his house. It was his master excuse to explain why his primary address was strictly off-limits, why he had to take his phone calls in his car, why he could only see her on specific nights. I was the toxic roommate. I was the psycho holding him back from living his truth. The rage that suddenly coursed through my veins wasn't hot. It was absolute, 0-degree ice. I didn't just want to break up with him. Breaking up was pedestrian. Breaking up was for normal people who had normal fights. I wanted to digitally and physically dismantle his entire existence. I wanted to optimize his downfall so thoroughly that he would feel the repercussions for the rest of his natural life. I went to work. I pulled up the Google Maps interface. I clicked on Vanessa's glowing 5-star review of the pasta. I hit the reply button, preparing to leave a public comment permanently attached to her profile. I dug deep into my Google Photos archive and found a crystal clear, high-resolution picture of Julian's tattooed arm from a beach trip we took to Cabo San Lucas. I opened Photoshop, stitching my beach photo side by side with Vanessa's dark pasta photo, circling the matching circuit board ink and drawing a bright red arrow pointing directly at the scratched silver watch. I typed my response into the text box. So glad you enjoyed the truffle pappardelle, Vanessa. My fiancé, Julian, usually prefers the carbonara, but I guess his taste in absolutely everything, including women, is rapidly changing. By the way, I'm the toxic, psycho roommate he's been living with for the past 3 years. Tell him to bring my house keys back when he's finally done being sick with his fake flu. 5 stars for the delicious food, 0 stars for the cheating company. I slammed the enter key. Published. Next, I opened his personal Google Maps account, which was permanently synced to my master desktop device for safety and emergency reasons whenever he traveled for real estate conferences. I navigated deeply into his timeline settings and his saved locations. He had our Kensington Court address proudly labeled as home with a little blue house icon. I aggressively deleted the pin. I dragged the digital cursor across the map of the city grid, zooming in on a small, quiet, suburban street 40 minutes away in the opposite direction. I dropped a permanent saved place pin directly onto his mother's concrete front porch. I labeled it in bold text, Julian's new permanent residence, but the digital strike wasn't enough to satisfy the hollow cavern in my chest. He had spent my hard-earned points. He had mocked my genuine care. He had worn my anniversary present, the scratched silver diving watch, while holding a wine glass across from an influencer who literally monetized calling me a psycho. I walked swiftly to the front hallway closet. Julian was a massive, obsessive sneakerhead. He kept his prized, untouchable possessions, the Travis Scott Air Jordans, the limited edition Yeezy Boost 350s, the vintage Nike Dunks, in pristine, clear plastic drop-front display boxes stacked against the wall. I marched into the kitchen and grabbed a roll of 5 heavy-duty, black plastic trash bags from under the sink. I systematically and ruthlessly packed 20 pairs of his most expensive, beloved, never-creased sneakers into the dark plastic. The smell of fresh rubber and premium suede filled the air as I aggressively knotted the bags shut. I dragged them out the front door and shoved them into the trunk of my SUV. I spent the next hour driving like a madwoman to 5 distinct, wildly inconvenient, visually distinct locations around the sprawling city limits. I dumped a bag in the tall weeds of a marshy, mosquito-infested dog park. I hurled another bag behind the grease-stained dumpsters of a rundown, abandoned strip mall. I wedged a third bag inside a hollowed-out, rotting tree stump near the muddy banks of the river. I tucked the fourth bag behind a rusty, sparking utility box on the industrial side of town. The final bag I shoved forcefully under the aluminum bleachers of a decaying, graffiti-covered high school football stadium. At every single location, I stood over his precious shoes, pulled out my phone, and dropped a precise, 10-digit GPS coordinate pin. When I finally pulled my SUV back into the driveway of Kensington Court, the dashboard clock read 2 p.m. I walked into the living room, dragged my heavy-duty ring light on its tripod out of the office, and securely attached my iPhone to the center mount. I turned the massive 65-inch smart TV on and screen mirrored my laptop directly to the display. I opened a brutal, undeniable slideshow presentation I had built while eating a protein bar in the car. Slide 1, Vanessa's Yelp review, featuring the zoomed-in, high-definition comparison of his forearm. Slide 2, the Marriott Bonvoy hotel receipt, highlighting his 7 p.m. check-in and the 50,000 deducted points. Slide 3, a continuously looping, muted video of Vanessa in her pink silk robe, talking excitedly about her mystery man leaving his toxic roommate. I stood in the exact center of the living room, planting my feet firmly into the hardwood floor. "Alexa," I said, my voice eerily, terrifyingly calm, "set the living room lights to bright white. Play Julian's morning hype playlist at volume 8. The heavy, thumping bass of a weekend hip-hop track immediately vibrated through the floorboards, shaking the glass frames on the console table. Less than a minute later, the master bedroom door slowly creaked open. Julian shuffled out into the hallway, wearing baggy gray sweatpants and a crumpled, inside-out white t-shirt. He was dramatically rubbing his eyes, still deeply committed to the sick routine, coughing weakly into his closed fist as he rounded the corner. He stepped into the living room and froze as if he had stepped on a landmine. The ring light was absolutely blinding. The TV behind me was a massive, glowing monument of undeniable, time-stamped proof of his Friday night betrayal. I stood perfectly still in the harsh light, holding a small, elegantly silver-wrapped gift box tied with a perfect red ribbon. What is this?" he stammered, his eyes darting frantically from my blank face to the glowing ring light, and then finally landing heavily on the 65-inch screen. His face completely drained of all color, shifting rapidly from a flushed, fake sleepiness to the horrifying pallor of a corpse. "Oh, you're up. Perfect," I beamed, my voice dangerously cheerful and laced with poison. "I was just recording a little life update for everyone. I wanted to show our friends and family our anniversary gift." "Angelica, wait," he hissed, taking a sudden step backward as the looping video of Vanessa squealing about her mystery man played silently behind my head. It's not what it looks like. I swear to God, just turn the camera off and let me explain." "It's not what it looks like?" I repeated, instantly dropping the cheerful act and plunging straight into absolute, unadulterated venom. "Julian, your scratched watch is resting comfortably next to a $200 bottle of Barolo. You checked into an executive suite exactly 30 minutes after you looked me in the eye and told me to go drink champagne without you because your bones ached. You spent 50,000 of my carefully saved travel points to pay for the bed you slept in." He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing erratically in his throat. He looked like a cornered animal. "She means nothing to me, I swear. It was a stupid mistake. I was so stressed from the firm, and she just DM'd me on Instagram. I was weak. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You've been seeing her for 6 months, Julian. 6 months of you calling me a toxic roommate to some 22-year-old girl who reviews luxury pasta for a living." I screamed, the iron grip of my control finally slipping just a fraction, letting the raw, bleeding, agonizing rage crack like a bullwhip through the living room. He flinched physically, holding both of his hands up in a pathetic gesture of surrender. "Angelica, please. I'm begging you. Turn the camera off. We can talk about this like adults. We can fix this. I love you. The only thing getting fixed today is your geographical location," I stated flatly, walking briskly toward him. I shoved the silver-wrapped gift box hard into the center of his chest. He fumbled backward, catching it clumsily before it hit the floor. "Open it," I whispered, my voice dripping with malice. His hands were shaking so violently he could barely rip the silver paper. He tore the wrapping away and pulled the cardboard lid off. Inside, resting delicately on a bed of black tissue paper, was a cheap plastic $50 gift card to Il Corvo. Tucked neatly underneath the plastic card was a freshly printed screenshot of my Google profile. It clearly showed the shiny gold star badge next to my username. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with terror and deep, uncomprehending confusion. "I earned my local guide badge this morning," I said smoothly, taking a calculated step back. My reply to Vanessa's little review went completely viral locally. Over 400 upvotes in 2 hours. "I also took the liberty of calling the tattoo artist who spent hours doing your sleeve. I told him you were urgently looking for an emergency cover-up, maybe something like a giant, bold 1-star rating stamped right across your forehead. And, since you're clearly such a massive fan of finding hidden gems, I decided to create an immersive experience just for you. I've hidden all 20 pairs of your designer sneakers in random, highly exposed geocache locations around the city." His jaw unhinged, the sheer, crushing reality of the situation fully setting in. My Jordans? "Angelica, what the hell did you do? Check your phone, Julian. I just emailed you a highly detailed map with the precise GPS coordinates. You might want to hurry." The one hidden by the river looked like it was about to flood, and the pair I tossed behind the strip mall dumpsters are completely exposed to the elements. "Oh, and you have exactly 20 minutes before the locksmith arrives to review the locks on our front door. You can't do this," he yelled, his voice cracking with utter desperation, pointing a shaking finger at the floorboards. "This is my house too. You can't just kick me out and steal my property. I am the sole name on the master lease, and I paid the entire security deposit out of my own checking account," I reminded him coldly, crossing my arms defensively over my chest. "Your permanent residence has already been digitally updated on your Google timeline to your mother's house. I'd suggest you start running. Those off-white dunks aren't going to rescue themselves." Julian stared at me for 5 agonizing seconds, searching my eyes for any shred of mercy, any hesitation, any lingering warmth of the woman who had kissed his forehead the night before. He found absolutely nothing but the cold, impenetrable wall of a strategist who had successfully optimized her grief into a tactical, devastating strike. He turned on his heel, bolted toward the entryway, grabbed his car keys off the hook, and sprinted out the front door in his sweatpants, slamming it so hard the walls shook. 2 hours later, my phone vibrated loudly on the kitchen counter. It was a text from Sarah. She had been driving past the industrial district on her way to a studio and spotted a very familiar figure. She sent me a live photo. It was Julian, man, covered head to toe in dirt, grease, and sweat, frantically pacing behind a rusty utility box, staring blindly at his phone's GPS screen while clutching a single black trash bag of sneakers over his shoulder like a destitute, miserable Santa Claus. I sat back on my pristine, emerald velvet sofa, opened my laptop, and permanently canceled the upcoming anniversary reservation at Il Corvo, instantly getting my $200 deposit refunded directly to my bank account. I used the money to immediately book a full-day, VIP deep tissue package at a luxury spa downtown, marking the calendar block in my phone with a single phrase, Independence Day. Am I the monster here for completely dismantling every aspect of his life, or did he get exactly what he deserved for thinking he could outsmart the architect of his digital world?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.